Welcome to the Tuesday, September 9th, 2025 regular closed session meeting of the EBMUD Board of Directors. Roll call, Madam Secretary, please.
Director Chan?
Here.
Director Gomez?
Here.
Director Katz is en route. Director Lewis?
Here.
Director Odie?
I'm here.
Director Smith?
Present.
President Young?
I am here. Okay, do we have anyone online for public comment?
No online public comment and
Okay,
no
do we have
comment.
anybody in the audience for public comment?
None.
Okay, well then, since there are no one for public comment, we will now convene to conference room 8 for our closed session agenda items 1 and 2, and return here for our regular meeting at 1:15 p.m. Thank you, everyone. See you in a bit. Welcome back to the Tuesday, September 9th regular business meeting of the East Bay Mud Board of Directors. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Director Chan?
Here.
Director Gomez?
Here.
Director Katz?
Here.
Director Lewis?
Here.
Director Odie?
I'm here.
Director Smith?
Present.
President Young?
I'm here. Okay, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have one announcement from closed session, which is that our closed session will reconvene immediately after the conclusion of this afternoon's regular board meeting to continue item 2 on the closed session agenda and conduct the annual performance review of the general counsel. Okay, next up is public comment. I have cards for items 6 and 7 on the consent calendar. Do I have any speakers online for public comment on non-agenda items?
No online speakers?
Okay. Do we have any speakers in the audience for comments that are not part of the agenda?
None.
Okay. Then we will move on to committee reports. The minutes for August 26, 2025, Finance and Administration Committee meeting are provided in the agenda materials. We'll now get an update from the Planning Committee and the Ledge HR Committee meetings. For Planning, Director Chan.
Okay. The Planning Committee met earlier and received updates on the number 1, Water Quality Program Semi-Annual Update, January to June 2025. Number 2, McCollumney Aqueduct Improvements and Failure Response. Number 3, update on the phased approach to design consultant management. And number 4, the Miller Road Trench Soil Management Project update and final mitigated negative declaration, which will be considered under the determination and discussion. That's the end of the report.
Okay, did the committee take action on any of the items?
Actually, so the first item, we accepted the report. The second item was I think that was a informational item only. And I think the third, we accepted the report, and fourth, we accepted the report, or not accepted the report, but accepted the MND.
Yeah, third item was informational only too.
Oh, sorry,
Sorry,
I
just-
mixed that one up. But we did actually, or the committee did approve the MND and the subsequent process to apply for the CUP permit. Is that correct, Clifford? Yeah, okay.
Okay, thank you. And for the Ledge HR Committee, Director Gomez?
The Ledge HR Committee met this morning, and we had one item for consideration, which was just an informational item. And it was the Human Resources, Technology, Innovation, and Core HR System Replacement Process. And no, we didn't need to
Anything
accept
about
or
that?
anything. But it was a good report, and we're looking, as a committee, we are looking forward to all the improvements that that technology is going to bring to our HR processes. 3 years from now, yeah, it's going to take a little while, but we're on the right path.
Okay. All right, we will now move on to the consent calendar, and I know I have two items, number 6 and number 7, for which there are public comments. So we will pull those items from the agenda. Do we have
Items 1 through 5 and 8 through
13?
13.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor of approving items 1 through 5 and 8 through 13, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Consent calendar, those items pass. Director Gomez. Okay, then take item 6. Do we have a staff?
If you don't mind, if we can hear the public comment.
Okay, Justin Young.
Good afternoon, Board of Directors, General Manager Chan. I spoke this morning to the Planning Committee about concerns about the contract out for our capital improvement projects. This is a continuation of that concern. Now that we kind of shifted in the last couple, like 5 or 10 years, we shifted in design division, which I'm an electrical engineer, control system engineer for 22 years. We're always priding ourselves on East Bay MUD. We do stuff in-house, we assist in construction. That kind of shifted to, let's pay a consultant to the work. Let's pay that same consultant to assist to build that project. And now what you see, number 6, is a continuation of that, is now let's contract out the inspection and the oversight of building that to construction now. $14 million. When you see as needed, usually on these calendars, usually it's up to, that $14 million will get spent. I would say, if you look at the past history and our design consultant money as needed, it's been used. Sometimes amendments coming after that. So I'm just bringing concerns that I brought in 10 years ago about the consultant for the design, for the design support during construction. So now here we are constructing it, asking for $14 million to support this work. I just want to understand what we're approving. Like, people, not East Bay MUD, we're hiring consultants to oversee something getting built that wasn't, some of them are designed by East Bay MUD, the big ones are not designed by East Bay MUD. So we're basically, it's a lot of work not being done with people in-house. So I don't think that these people have the best interest of East Bay MUD. Some of you have heard this many years. We're hearing a different story from Matt. You're getting told something different. I'm getting totally something different from my members out in the field that are working with these folks that are supposed to be managing these people. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. We understand there's a lot of work going on. The district management made the decision to consult it out. So here we are. I just want to let you know my concern is still there. I'm just hoping that we're looking at the dollar amounts and what we're doing. So, you can see what we're doing design. We kind of shifted a little bit because we saw how we were doing things and things weren't, we know we could do things better. So we're just kind of chasing. And so I just already see where this is going. $14 million is going to go to these projects, overseen, district's going to get pulled in, assist, we're going to get these projects. Nobody, there's not, a lot of them, some of them are not district design. It falls down to operation maintenance. It's just a cycle. It's just not what East Bay MUD was basically started, from how we started. We are MUD. It was all about East Bay MUD. I understand, I told you earlier, we understand we can't do everything in-house, but the shift has been here that we have elected to spend more money on consultant design and construction. Thanks for your time.
Do we have staff response?
Yeah, Serge, if you'd like to respond, I'm not entirely sure. Go ahead, Serge.
Serge, if you could talk about how as needed is determined and what role the consultation with the unions that are involved prior to making a decision to send any of this out.
Yeah, thank you, President Young and members of the board. I think as Justin pointed out, we are in a period of peak workload in construction, and we simply can't handle all of the support that's required for the construction projects we have. So we've engaged with Local 2019 a number of times. There's a prior contract that's now expiring for CMCI services. We do expect that peak in workload to go down in a couple of years. So we anticipate this to be the last contract for on-call CMCI services. I think just to give you an idea, roughly we have about 30 projects that are either active or upcoming in the next 2 years. That number is supposed to go down significantly in a few years. I think part of the need for this contract is also to support some of these mega one-time generational projects such as USL, and we do need some staff to supplement that. So that's kind of the big picture.
And as I understand it, Serge, I mean, you have met with 2019, and I mean, just based on what was shared, I mean, we resolved their issues.
We did. Just to give you some highlights, I think the question did come up, can we explore the option of hiring LTs or TCs? That was one of the questions. And a couple of years ago in FY '24, we converted 8 LT TCs. So we did add regular staff, permanent staff, to the construction division to help with this workload. Some of those staffs are assigned to overseeing the consultants' work. And then 4 additional regular positions were added. 2 were new and 2 were backfills. So a couple of years ago, we did take those steps as part of the prior staffing plan. But again, with the workload that we expect to go down, I think there's a reduction in the CIP over the next 10 years. We don't see the need for regular staff for ongoing recurring work in construction.
What percentage does the 14 million account for of overall? So if you take this category of work, what percentage continues to be done in-house versus outsourced? Do you have a way of
That's a good
quantifying that?
No, I can get you
Could
those
you-
numbers. I think, we continue doing a significant amount of inspection. Again, the oversight of the consultant is done by district staff, so we manage them closely, just like we have in the last contract that's now expiring. To give you an idea for the peak workload, I think for the next few years, this contract is equivalent to roughly in the range of 12 to 20 FTEs. And again, that workload will go down as we have fewer contracts expected starting in a few years, and also as we finish the USL project. That's a majority of this on-call services will be to support the USL project, which was designed in-house, and we have a lot of involvement in overseeing, but we just don't have the staff to do all of the inspection required to finish that job.
Okay. Any questions from other board members?
That 12 to 20 sounds like it could be quite high. If you were intending that to mean sustained over 3 years, is 14 million divided by that many would seem like it's actually not, very, not what I would expect for a district forces engineer, for example. So are you expecting that the 14 million, as it correlates to 12 to 20 FTE is to be deployed in a more narrow time period as opposed to the 3-year full horizon of the contract?
No, that's a good point. It's peak workload, so it's not an average, but it's at certain periods when we have heavy inspection needs, that number could be up to 20, but that's the idea with the on-call contract. Also, sometimes we'll need a much smaller number, so we'll be able to kind of adjust depending on what phases we are in the different construction projects that we have.
And maybe, President Young, to your question, I mean, over the total period of this contract, it's about 20 to 25% of our internal.
Total construction and
Yes.
inspection, construction management inspection, okay. Jim?
A quick question, just adding on to Director Katz. So if there's there's a 3-year and then there's a 2-year option to renew. So over the potential 5 years, what are we talking about? Is that still 14 million? Is it 20 million? I mean,
Including the option years.
14 years total for the 5 years.
okay. And the contractors we're talking to, are they union shops? Do we know?
So they're all consultants. I think there's a total of, let's see. They're consultants, so they're not union now.
Okay,
It's professional services, essentially inspectors and engineers to help support the work.
well then who would be doing those positions if we were doing it in-house?
It would be local 2019.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
So it was mentioned about the LT or TC. Did you look into that?
We did look into it. As I mentioned, we converted 8 of them in FY '24, and that was kind of the compromise, I think, in the last biennial budget that we reached in converting some, but we didn't see the need. It takes a while to hire, LTs and TCs, so we did convert some to regular, but we felt that to meet our peak workload, by the time we would hire them, it would still not meet our overall workload, because as I mentioned, the numbers in our peak would be 10 to 20. So we wouldn't have enough flexibility essentially with the LTTCs to meet our workload needs for all of the construction projects we have.
Okay, but we're going into, we're going into 26. So if you did that back then, why couldn't you figure out how to do it going forward?
I think what Serge is saying is when you look at the peak workload need, you would have to hire 20 some odd employees just to meet this peak workload as opposed to, 8 employees. I'll just also note, we have a process where we meet with the unions to talk about contracting out. We went through the process, and, we're at this point right now, where, I appreciate Justin bringing up these issues, but, we address their concerns in the contracting out process. So I think he's sharing his concerns, but, I just want to make that point. That's part of the whole, all good questions, but this is a peak workload need that bringing on 20 people for a peak workload would be challenging.
Right, so just to clarify, 2019 is not objecting to this, just so I understand. They're not objecting to this item, they're just raising that this is part of the continuing concern related to contracting out. Is that a fair statement, Justin? Okay, all right. Gotcha. But you're not objecting, the local has not taken a formal position objecting to this contract.
I think maybe make one more point in answer to your question, Director Smith, is we've been working to fill a number of vacancies in construction, I think 2 or 3 at the assistant and associate level, and we've had a tough time recruiting for regular positions. We've made some offers, some applicants moved on, so we're struggling with filling regular positions. So I think it would also be in the current market challenging to fill them on an LT or TC basis.
Okay. Do I have a motion? I will move that we adopt the item 6, recognizing the ongoing concerns of Local 2019 and addressing the need to still provide as-needed construction management and inspection services, and assuming that we will not contract that work out if it's not needed, if we have available staff and capacity to cover that. So
I'll
that's my
second.
motion.
Thank President Young for expressing the sentiment.
Any discussion?
Yeah. This is not a new situation, and I'd like to know whether it's through you or through the general manager or however, we can reduce this, because those meetings very rarely turn out to have fewer contracts out, regardless of how much information staff has brought forward, okay? So doubling up on their responsibility to have to babysit these people who don't really know what's going on with us, but they're getting this big money to be contracted to do what it is we're hiring them to do. And our folks have to take care of it after they're long gone with our money, with our consumers' money. Okay? So I believe that it would be reasonable for us to make our plans in accordance so that we don't have to perpetually have to get contract people for this stuff. It's these contracts, these projects that we're doing, yes, many of them are very urgent and we need to have them. Others could have been planned differently. So I would look forward to us having better planning so we don't have to perpetually need to hire contract people who can, when we have people who can actually do that work, usually when they're not busy with the other prioritized programs and projects that we're doing here. I mean, we've seen the verbiage that, our staff are doing more important work, yet we're gonna pay all this money for somebody else to do less important work. It just doesn't make sense.
Understood.
Okay, I have one more card for public comment on this item. Lee Evans.
Good to see all of you on the board. Thank you for all of your work and everything you do here and your contributions. I do want to thank everybody for questioning this item. I am telling you as an employee that we are contracting out more and more. They are not checking with staff and it's not happening efficiently. As Joey said, having us babysit other people who do the work wrong that we end up paying more to fix the issue is not an uncommon practice here at the district. And I think we need to make it a less common practice. We've now started contracting out our collections. We're no longer having customer service do that. And I'm not talking about closed accounts. I'm talking about open accounts. We are now giving live customer information to a third-party collection agency. And that's not something we used to do. We are just contracting out all of our work and giving less and less service. And the people at the top are not telling you what's really going on. There's money flying out of everywhere. We're not as efficient as we should be. We don't take care of all of our customers the same. I gotta tell you, it was a downfall not to give 444 bilingual pay. We need to be serving our customers better, and that's where we should be focusing it on. And contracting out does not help that purpose. So I wasn't even planning on speaking today because I'm waiting to get paperwork before I show you exactly the contracting out that's happening in the contact center. But this is just a continuation of the problem. You're giving less and less service to the people because you're not paying attention to them. And not you specifically, but I guess I'm asking you guys specifically. Please look in on it. Even your departments within the halls. There was a letter written to the board a while ago about customer service, and we're still underneath the needle. And now the CIs are being contracted out. So I just want to tell the board I appreciate you guys asking questions. I encourage you to ask more questions and get more paperwork and things in writing. And then you may also want to check with the SMEs, because the people who control the SMEs are not necessarily the SMEs. So I thank you for your time, and I thank you guys for your questions.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion and a second on the item, calling for a vote.
Can we do voice vote, please?
Excuse me?
Can we do voice vote?
You mean a roll call?
Roll call, that's right.
Sure. Can I ask, actually, let me just ask one question. When is the soonest that these services would be needed if this motion does not go forward today? This is a spring-fed pool of consultants, right? These are already consultants that we have existing relationships with.
Not all of them, yeah. We have 4 consultants, kind of split differently amongst the 14 million. But I think to answer your question, the existing contract, CMCI contract that we entered into, I think 3 years ago, is expiring, and so I think we need this contract to be able to continue providing inspections starting next month, so,
Early next month?
yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Director Chan?
Abstain.
Director Gomez?
Yes.
Director Katz?
Yes?
Director Lewis?
Yes.
Director Odie?
Abstain.
Director Smith?
Abstain.
President Young?
Yes.
Okay.
Motion passes.
Yes.
Okay, item 7. We also have, at this point, 3 comment cards. Eric, do you care who goes first, second, third, or? Eric? Okay, you, Mike, and then Tony will close? Okay.
Thank you, President Young. Good afternoon, board members and general manager. My name is Eric Larson, President AFSCME Local 444. AFSCME 444 objects to contracting out the dump trucks, principally because there's no plan to acquire or procure additional trucks for our ongoing need. AFSCME 444 objects to the continued excessive contracting out of our core bargaining unit work. Pre-COVID spending for dump trucks was on the order of $3 to $4 million per year. Now it's up to $6.1 million per year. In 2023, the district funded 6 additional heavy transport operator positions, but has only just managed to keep spending flat at $5.9 million a year for FY 25 and 24 and 25. We need additional positions to reduce the reliance on contract services. This is due in part to increasing pipeline replacement goals. We're also seeing contract trucks here every day. It's not just peak workload, they're here every single day of the year, except for the very worst storm conditions. When this contract will be exacerbated by direct haul, which will result in the need for more trucks to meet pipeline excavation needs due to fewer trips per day due to longer hauling each day. The district needs to plan now for additional heavy transport operators and truck drivers in the next budget cycle by allocating funds now to begin the procurement process for additional trucks. It takes over a year from order to delivery to buy a dump truck. Also, there are 4 funded vacant HTO positions and 2 funded vacant truck drivers as of my August vacancies report. So, with all due respect, we ask that the district expedite filling those vacant positions and for you to request an analysis of the routine use of FMNO contract trucks and for the need for additional trucks under direct haul scenarios. We also recommend that you reduce the award to the 2022-2023 spending levels of just $4.9 million and allocate the remaining $1 million to procure additional new trucks for our fleet in advance of the FY27 mid-cycle budget review, at which time the district may consider adding additional drivers. The last time they added additional drivers, they added 6 additional drivers, but then they said, oh, wait a minute, we don't have trucks for them. We got to buy the trucks. It takes a year to buy trucks. We had to spend months and months continuing to renegotiate to convince the district to rent trucks to fill those positions, and that's only kept spending flat. Spending is going to continue to increase, especially with direct haul, in which there are just fewer trips per day that a truck driver can make. So thank you for your consideration.
Okay, thank you. Next up, I have Mike Morgan.
Good afternoon,
Are
directors.
you speaking on 8 as well, or just,
Originally, it's going to touch on 8, but it's not objecting to 8.
okay,
So, good afternoon. My name is Mikey Morgan. I'm the chief steward of Local 444, and we are objecting to the continual large contracting of FMNO trucks. This is the core function of our work. In the 13 years I've worked here, we've always contracted truck services. This shows us that this isn't to help cover peak workload. We need more trucks and staff to operate them. We still have large goals to increase the amount of pipe going in the ground and potential changes in off-haul procedures. Any way you look at it, we need to increase the amount of trucks and drivers. The continual contracting of the work is just throwing away millions of dollars instead of investing in our workforce and equipment. Additionally, contracting the vacuum excavator, I support the use of the equipment. It makes our job safer, but again, we should be doing the work. Our 444 members are highly skilled professionals that know exactly how the rest of the crews would want the work done, and it wouldn't have the restrictions of dealing with other companies' equipment or timelines. Please consider that this work isn't going away and it falls within our core duties, and instead of just writing checks, to instead invest in our workforce and fleet to ensure that we have what we need to be self-sufficient and ready for anything. It does take around a year to acquire the trucks or vacuum excavators to purchase to delivery. We need to allocate funds now to purchase additional trucks and vacuum excavators now so that we can staff the new positions the next budget cycle.
Thanks. You do realize that we already voted on 8.
Yes, and 8 it's fine. I'm agreeing with that one, but I want to put it out there. It's similar to just addressing the issue that for this contract to finish out, but I want you to start looking ahead in the future, that instead of renewing another contract and running into a similar cycle we were running into with the FMNO trucks, that we start procuring more vacuum excavators and additional staffing to run those vacuum excavators.
Okay, thank you. Tony Morgan. Martin, sorry. Mike Morgan, Tony Martin. I went to school with somebody named Mike Martins, that's mine.
All right. Greetings, President, and Executive Board. I come because I hear words that, excuse me for using this, irk my nerves. I hear words, and no disrespect to those who use them under their title, I understand, but can one define peak, the word peak? Can one define understaffed? If I was a supervisor or manager and I'm understaffed, I would do everything in my power to get where I feel staffing should be so we would not have to contract out. When is peak load? Oh, during the summer. How many times did it rain last year? How many actual days? 10 maybe? 15 at the most? When we think about these things, when it's not raining, we can do what we need to do. So I would like to challenge the board, when you hear peak load, have that person define what that actually means. Dig deep. If they say we're understaffed, what do you mean you're understaffed? A good example, I parked down at Oakport. I used to see East Bay mud gardeners come through there maybe once a month, sometimes twice a month. All I see now is contractors. It makes me wonder, is the district really concerned about the employees? Or is the board concerned about the employees that work here? Or is the board concerned about, we need to get projects done, whatever this supervisor or manager of this department asks for, let's do it, because I'm concerned about the ward that you represent. I would be concerned if I was part of one of the wards that, are there employees doing the work, or is the money going outside? You know, in our communities, we want people to spend more in our community for the growth. If we spend more and have more employees, you know where it's going, you know the quality of work you're gonna get. Every time that something is contracted out, East Bay Mud employees have to go back through, they did this wrong, we gotta fix this. Now we gotta fix that, now we gotta fix this. We gotta repaint this. So it makes me wonder, I'm hoping that the board would dig deep. Don't just look at something and accept it when you're sitting here and reading it on a piece of paper. Take time out, put on a hard hat and a vest and your work boots. Go out there and actually look. Go see. If you're not sure, don't talk to the superintendent. You can talk to a foreman. You can talk to one of the employees who are actually doing the work. So you can get the firsthand knowledge right there. Because if I was a supervisor, I can feed you a lot of slop while I'm eating steak and eggs. But I'm not here to feed you slop. I want you to eat just as well as I eat. So I'm not gonna give you anything, okay, well, I got them off my back now. It's deeper than that. Dig deep. I really encourage each and every one of you to dig deep. Take time out.
Your time has concluded.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tony. Okay, Serge, are you the right person, or, it's Chris?
No,
Okay.
we have Crystal here.
Hi, Crystal Yasmin, Manager of Maintenance and Construction. I just want to point out that the dump truck services contract has been flat for the last few years. We've worked hard to maintain it, the status quo, and not have to increase our reliance on contracting. Contrary to what Tony just mentioned, we do have peak workload. Paving can only be done when the temperature is above 50 degrees, when it's sunny and it's not raining. We do have limits on our permit conditions in regards to the time we can dig in the street. We have to get all hands on deck when we can do that work. Also, out of the 23 contractors you have on the list, over 90% are minority-owned and represented businesses. This is a wonderful opportunity to get out in the community for small businesses to be part of, to get a part of our work. The ask is for 6.1 million. We are at the limit of our last authorization. If we were not to approve this today, we would probably have to stop using these contract services within the next week or two, in which case we would have to cease work on a number of pipeline rebuild jobs throughout our service area.
Okay. Questions, Jim?
Thank you. So you mentioned it was flat from last year to this year. What about the prior years? Because I think there was some numbers tossed around.
The numbers that were cited were pre-COVID, 23, 24. It was, last authorization was 5.9 million. Prior to that, I believe is about the same. Yeah, it's about the same.
Okay, so I mean, I thought I heard 3.4 pre-COVID.
Yeah, the increase,
4
our
point-
dump truck rates are a flat rate for every contractor. We increased it for inflation and additional fuel costs for this particular contract.
Okay, so while it may be flat this year, you know, if you look at it over 6 years, it has gone up, you know, almost double.
But the pace of work has also increased, correct?
That's correct. We have increased our rate of pipeline replacement over that time period as well.
And that's not going to go away anytime soon.
Our
Right,
target for this
right.
year is again 25
Okay.
miles.
So we have there's also discussion about these 4 heavy transport operators and 2 truck drivers, these vacancies that have been budgeted. I mean, what is the status on getting those filled?
We have well over 60 truck drivers on staff. The vacancy rate typically runs around 5 to 6% due to retirements and departures. So we do keep up, we try to keep up with filling those vacancies at a constant rate.
But you're recruiting those positions now?
Yes, that's correct.
And then I think there was also a question from a speaker on the lead time to purchase a dump truck. Do you know what that lead time is?
It does take well over a year to purchase equipment. The lead time is quite long to outfit it. We have specialized hydraulics on the gates to avoid injury to our staff and to put it in service. There's, from the point that we order it to when it gets manufactured and delivered and then modified for our work, it takes a little over a year.
Okay. So I guess what I'd like to see, understanding that all this would come to a complete stop if we rejected this today, but you're asking for another year, right?
That's correct.
So it seems to me that in a year, we could, A, get the equipment ordered. We could, B, fill those vacancies, and then maybe obviate the need to do this contract again next year. Because like Holly and some of the members in the audience, I mean, now that we're done with all the stuff we had to do in the spring, you know, focusing on this item, you know, what to me seems to be a little bit more contracting out that I'm comfortable with. And this is not something I'm new to. I mean, when I was on the city council, I was against it there also. So it should not be a surprise to anyone. But, you know, I'd like to at least add some caveats to any approval on this, you know, to prepare for the dump truck, fill those vacancies, do the analysis requested by 444, and then have some type of midpoint report back, maybe 6 months on the progress in that, so we're not here a year from now doing the same thing. Because to me, 13 years of contracting out, doesn't sound to me like it's peak. It sounds to me like it's standard practice.
And for those 4 positions that you'd fill, we have the vehicles already. These are just vacancies. So there's no need to buy a vehicle for these vacancies. Once we fill the vehicle is here.
So where are we at, though, in terms of filling those vacancies?
I don't have the data in front of me, but I do recall approving some paperwork to get them on board, so I think their entry to the district is imminent, so.
Imminent, okay. Joey?
Considering, you're saying that we are, we have all the trucks that we need to get things done right now, right? Is that what you're saying?
For the
We have trucks for our staff.
Yes, for
Okay.
the staffing plan.
And what is the next schedule for trucks to be replaced?
We replace trucks based on age and mileage. We do not have plans to buy additional trucks for the fleet in
Okay.
this 2-year budget.
I got that. So are you aware of which trucks are going to need to be overturned and within what amount of time? So that we want to make sure we continue to have the trucks for our full staffing.
Yes, we have that data as to which truck is scheduled for replacement next.
Okay?
Yes.
And do you have any idea when the next ones are going to need to?
I would have to get back to you with that data.
Please do.
Yeah, we can bring the data back. Just suffice to say, for all of our vehicles, I think some of you may be aware, but we collect what we call vehicle use charges from all the vehicles to fund the replacement of the vehicles. And then based on the fleet staff, we plan in advance these replacements so that to the extent that we can plan, for the things that we do know, that we don't end up with, not having a vehicle for a staff person. But these are funded. And if we add new money, if we're adding new staff, but the replacement fund is collected to replace vehicles.
For this fiscal year, we have budgeted close to $21 million in vehicle replacements. And those were planned replacements based on age and mileage and maintenance records.
You're next. Director Gomez and Director Lewis.
So thank you so much for the extra attention on this item. I would like to echo Director Odie's request to do that analysis as requested by 444. I think it would be really helpful to wrap our heads around, like, how do we move forward so that it's not such a big contracting out load. Also, I would like to include in the analysis whether or not indeed the direct haul means fewer trips per day, like do a better analysis of that as well. Other than that, that's my comment.
Director Lewis?
I thank you also to everyone who's made a presentation or comments. As part of the analysis, I'd like to also understand, as we buy and add trucks to the fleet, what's the carrying cost? So I do need to know over time, if we add additional ones, including additional staff, what that means from a budget standpoint over the years. Thank you.
Director Katz?
Should staff respond to Director Lewis's comment before I go?
I was just saying, when they do the analysis that we've asked for additional information, I just believe that is significant, so we actually understand what the true cost is as opposed to, let's face it, as directors, we have a lot of competing concerns, so we're trying to manage the business interests of EBMUD, our union workers, the core here, our workers, and also our ratepayers. So I would like to have a clear understanding of what the impact is, as opposed to assuming there's no cost other than purchasing a vehicle.
Thanks, yeah, didn't
Thank
want to
you.
jump into the back and forth flow if there was still another response.
Later.
And yeah, and I think similarly, I'm understanding the issues since so many other directors have gone so far. I would like to see this contract taper down over the years. We have vacancies generally, it's not an excessive amount, given that this is a classification with many positions authorized. And but we should strive to have a hiring list that has room to go, room to reach, and that we can fill vacancies quickly to be able to keep our in-house work a full house, and that we don't need to contract out as much. And I'd like to, next time we see this contract, I think it needs to be much smaller. Understandably, we may need to actually reach the next budget cycle, or staff may find the funds to be able to adjust mid-cycle, so that we can, in light of, the pipeline rebuild is not peak work. Pipeline rebuild is going to be with us for a very long time. It will be, well over $1.5 billion over the long run, and I think we need to be ensuring that this role is built into the plan so that we can perform the work with district forces to the greatest extent possible. So, the current situation looks like we're falling behind because of not just the vacancies, but there might be a justification for additional truck driver and heavy vehicle carrier positions. But we also need to be thinking about the procurement of the vehicle, and that may be another budget conversation too. So, at the time that we're looking at these issues in the mid-cycle or in the pre-budget workshop, I'd like to make sure that we have a plan for this so that either the next time or the time after that we see this contract, that we know that we have a plan for this contract to be tapered down.
Director Chan.
Yes, thank you so much, Crystal. I really appreciate it. I really want to echo what Director Katz was saying. I am looking forward to seeing an analysis. And I wanted to ask you, how far does your analysis go out? Because we're going to have the pipeline project replacement for a very long time. So as you're looking at how many trucks we need, and then taking into consideration that the amount of pipeline we want to replace increases. So how far out do you go in your analysis?
Yeah, a recent board meeting, it was requested of staff to come back with, how are we going to increase pipe rebuild while keeping costs flat? So we have convened a working group of our subject matter experts, from engineering to construction, to even material procurement and purchasing, to talk about ways in which to become more efficient. So we just started that effort, and we'll be coming back to the board to give a presentation on methods for efficiency that we've come up with. I believe it's scheduled for end of the year or early next year.
We're scheduled to report to the board in
August of next
Okay.
year, yeah.
So in your analysis, are you going to go out 5 years, 10 years?
Yeah, we will
What are
be
you
looking
projecting
forward.
here?
That's
Okay.
correct, yes.
And then part of that analysis would be the truck purchases, right?
Correct.
Or the trucks as a resource. Okay, thank you.
Any other board comments, questions? The only thing I wanted to highlight a bit is that, this relates to the entire contracting out project. We are a growing concern. We are hiring, and we have increased staff. We will continue to be increasing staff, presumably. But we also have never laid off anybody. And I want to be sure that Director Mellon used to be the voice of this, but I agree with him, is that I don't want us to be caught in a situation where we have overhired and where people's jobs do not feel secure to them. And there's a delicate balance with that. And as Crystal, as you indicated, 90, did you say 90%?
Over 90%.
Of the contractors that provide these services are in our contract equity program, and are minority-owned, minority or women-owned, and our contracts with these companies enrich our community. We're in a fortunate position to be able to make those contracts with those vendors. So within that balancing act of maintaining and growing a highly skilled union workforce, we have this other component to manage what we can't sustain. So I want to be supporting reducing contracting out when it is for services that we can sustain and for work that we can sustain. And I will support contracting out or going outside of our district staff when it's for work that we're not able to commit to sustaining with district forces. So, and, I don't know that I'll always be right about that crystal ball, but that's what I'm counting on. Staff to be able to project, that you have heard this board say very clearly over and over and over and over again, we don't want to use out-of-district forces if we don't have to. So you need to make that case. As Tony said, sort of drill down, help us really understand what peak means when we're saying we have a contract for peak services. If it's for ongoing services, and dump trucks, honestly, it probably is an ongoing service that we're going to keep using for many, many, many years. And so I think that analysis that we're asking for is also about that. What does peak mean in this circumstance? Out of, how many millions of dollars do we actually spend in-house on dump truck services? What portion of this is that? So I would like to entertain a motion from somebody. I think Jim started articulating a motion, so we can go forward with this item.
Okay, if we have to do I have to repeat everything, or was
We have to
there
make the
enough
motion.
direction?
You didn't move it.
Right,
so.
but is there enough? So I make a motion to approve the item, subject to the comments of the board.
Yeah, I think I've captured all the feedback and the comments, the analysis that you're looking for, and to, as Director Young noted previously and just now, to use contracting out only when we feel like it's needed, but also to come back to the board to provide analysis of what peak workload is, how it's being used. I have it all written down, so.
And a 6-month progress
Okay,
report.
so then I will make that motion then, trusting you have it written down, not having to repeat it all and remember.
And I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion by Director Odie, seconded by Director Gomez. Does anybody want a roll call vote, or are we good with a voice vote? I'm happy to call for a roll call vote if folks would like to do that.
Voice vote's fine.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Okay, thank you. Passes unanimously. Okay, we're off of consent. Boy, that took longer than we anticipated. We have a public hearing for item 14.1 to receive public comments on East Bay MUD's Public Health Goals Report for the period of 2022 to 2024. The California Health and Safety Code specifies that water systems serving more than 10,000 service connections prepare a special report every 3 years if their water quality measurements have exceeded any public health goals or federal maximum contaminant level goals if no public health goal exists. Only constituents with California primary drinking water standards designated with a maximum contaminant level are included in this regulation. Staff will provide a presentation before we receive comments from the public. The hearing is now open, and we'll have a presentation from Water Quality Manager Susan Teefee.
Thank you, President Young, directors. My name is Susan Teefee, Manager of Water Quality, and I'm going to present the report on the district's water quality relative to the public health goals in the state of California. A little bit of background. This requirement is unique to California. It's been on the books since 1996. All water systems that are large, like us, that serve more than 10,000 people, have to make a PHG report once every 3 years and hold a public meeting. So that's what we're doing here today. Public health goals are set by, I have to apologize, a lot of abbreviations in this, so sorry about that. That's just the nature of this. OEHA, which is the Office of Environmental Health and Hazard Assessment, part of the state of California. They set PHGs at a concentration that poses no significant risk to a person when consumed over a lifetime. And the EPA makes a federal equivalent that's called a maximum contaminant level goal. So both PHGs and MCLGs are not enforceable. They are really just goals. And they're set at very low levels and often below what we can detect with modern analytical techniques. So in terms of what's required, we have to meet the maximum contaminant levels, MCLs, without the G on the end. Those are enforceable. The Environmental Protection Agency and the state water boards set the MCLs as close as possible to the PHGs or the MCLGs as they can, taking into account several factors, such as do we have analytical capability to see those compounds, to detect them at those low levels? Are there available methods of treatment that can reduce a contaminant down to those very low levels? And they do balance cost and benefits when setting an MCL of a particular, for regulating a particular compound. So for EBMUD, our report has to include all the regulated compounds that we've detected above the PHGs or MCLGs. It has to include the numerical health risks that are associated with the MCL as well as the PHG, the type of health risk, and then the best available treatment technology as designated by the regulatory agencies to reduce that compound and what it would cost. And the purpose is to provide consumers with this information on basically what risk is associated with compounds that are in the water but below the enforceable levels but above the PHGs. Because we often talk about some compounds, it is, I'm just sort of noting that there's some things that you may have heard of that are not in the report, most notably disinfection byproducts. And that's just the way these regulations are written. The individual compounds that make up the group of disinfection byproducts have PHGs, but there's no PHG for the total. And the regulation is based on the total. So it's just the nature of the way this thing is written. So we're not going to talk about THMs or haloacetic acids because there are no individual no PHGs for the groups as a whole. And then compounds that are regulated by treatment techniques, like lead, for example. There is no MCL for lead. There's a group of actions we have to take to minimize lead, but there's not a number, so we're not going to cover lead in this report as well. The data that we use for this report is the data we use for compliance purposes, and it's all been covered in our last 3 years of consumer confidence reports. And so it's already been made available to the public between 2022 and 2024 calendar years. So the first one that we detected above its PHG is bromate. Bromate is a byproduct of the ozonation process, so it is a disinfection byproduct, but it's a combination of naturally occurring bromide in the raw water and ozone that we add to the treatment process. This table shows we monitor for bromate every quarter, So this shows the quarterly results for the 3 calendar years, and then each column is a treatment plant. We only add ozone at Sobrante and Upper San Leandro. So these are the data from each of those quarters. OS means out of service, so the Upper San Leandro plant was out of service for a little bit. The MCL, the maximum contaminant level, is 10. Our lab's detection limit is 1, and the PHG for bromate is 0.1, so 10 times lower than that. Our values range from non-detect to, I think, a max of 1.8 on a quarterly basis, but so well below the MCL, but also above the PHG for bromate.
When it says less than 1, is that non-detect?
It's non-detect, yeah. The lab won't, the lab can't give us a number. They can just say it's less than the number, the lowest number that they can detect. And then the second compound that is included in this report is hexavalent chromium. And these numbers are in parts per million. This is naturally occurring. We don't have any industrial sources of hexchrome in the environment like some utilities do. These are just degradation of naturally occurring soils and rocks, basically, in the watershed. This MCL became effective just in October of 2024, so we don't have 3 years' worth of data. We've just got some data here. The MCL, the maximum level, is 10, based on a running annual average of quarterly samples. And so these are the data from the 4 treatment plants that were in service during the time that we were monitoring here, all from 2024. You can see that these levels are just barely above the detection level. Our lab's detection limit is 0.1, and we have numbers as high as 0.2, something on that order. So quite low, but above the PHG, which is 10 times lower than that at 0.02.
This is probably really obvious to everybody else, but on page 6, under Upper San Leandro, for quarters 3 and 4, you've got O/S.
Out of service, yeah. Yeah.
So we weren't as.
Sorry about that.
as we thought. No, we that's what we thought, but we didn't know. So.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's still in service. It's still out of service actually right now. Hopefully next month we'll get it back in service. Thanks for that. So these are the data on hexchrome. Moving forward, we'll continue to monitor for this one quarterly now that this standard is back in effect. Okay, and so we also are required to report on the health risks associated with each of these compounds. The health risk category, just coincidentally for both of these, is the same, and that's carcinogenicity, which basically means it causes cancer. The PHG, as I said, for bromate is 0.1, and for hexchrome is 0.02. So the cancer risk at the PHG, and this is kind of by design, this is the way OEHA does it, a 1 in a million risk level if that compound was consumed over a lifetime at that level, so 1 in a million. And the cancer risk at the MCL, which is higher than the PHG, is necessarily higher than that. So in the case of bromate, 1 per 10,000. In the case of hexchrome, 5 per 10,000. Both of these compounds have a BAT, a best available technology, that's designated by the regulatory agencies. Those technologies are demonstrated to reduce the compound to the MCL, not the PHG. And it's problematic to assume that you can use that BAT to get down to very low levels. You can't just maybe add twice as much of something and expect that it's going to go down that low. It's generally not the way it works, treatment technology-wise at low concentrations. So it's a little problematic, I think I said here, speculative and possibly misleading to assume that those BATs could indeed reduce compounds down to those low levels. And we can't verify that analytically because we just can't see the compounds down at those low levels. Did you have a question?
No, I was going to make a comment when you're done.
Okay. We do have, one of the BATs for bromate is listed as control of the ozonation process. And that is something that we work hard to do. Ozone is used only as much as we need for reducing taste and odor causing compounds. Over ozonating the water will not only create more bromate, but waste resources as well. So we try to only add as much as we can. And there are other potential control strategies that can help reduce bromate levels, and those have been incorporated into the CSIP project and some of the other upgrade projects at these two plants. So at this time, we're not recommending any additional actions to get to lower levels of those compounds. I think that's it.
Director Gomez?
Yeah, thank you so much for the report. Fascinating with someone with a public health background. I really dug into this and and apologies for the detailed question that I will ask, but on slide 8, which relates to a table in the staff report, we're using the terminology causes cancer for both bromate and hexavalent chromium. However, that's a little, I mean, that might cause a level of concern in the public that I would like to see maybe an asterisk with a slightly longer definition of what we're actually talking about in terms of cancer risk, which is that for bromate, it's a probable human carcinogen, and then for hex chromium, it's a long-term exposure may increase the risk of cancer. So it's a slightly different meaning than just plain old causes cancer. So that's something that I would like to explore including in our report if it's allowed, because I know this is a mandated report.
Yeah, and we can certainly ask that. This is a requirement imposed by the Division of Drinking Water, but it's not uncommon for us to ask them for alternative language like we do in our CCR sometimes, and they may say that that's fine, so we can certainly ask.
Yeah. And then the other thought that came to me as I was reading this is like, it's good to know what the California public health goal is, and it's good to know the levels that we have. What I didn't see in the report is mostly for consumers' benefit, like how would we know how our levels relate to cancer risk? So we know what our levels are, we know where our detection limits are, and we know what the state goals are. But it's like, so how are we doing relative to those goals? So if there's like a column that we could add or a paragraph that we could add that explains that, I think that would be helpful.
In comparison, just so I understand what you're asking.
So if you go to the detection occurrence
Right.
slide, which is, I think, the next one? No,
This one.
before that.
So just as an
So
example.
you're saying
point
quantifying
to-
these as what the
So
excess cancer.
what would be
Yeah,
the excess cancer risk based
Yeah.
on the numbers that we're able to detect based on our technology?
Sure.
right? So
Sure.
it would be helpful to make that connection for folks.
Okay.
And maybe I can ask this to you, Susan. I mean, my only concern about something like that is the cancer risk is calculated, the PHG, that level is calculated, and the cancer risk, assuming that somebody is drinking at that level over their lifetime. And the level that we detect will change over time from non-detect to some level. So it'd be more difficult for us to say, well, what we have today is what somebody's going to consume over a lifetime, and therefore this is the cancer risk, because that could change from non-detect to some other value. But am I understanding that correctly?
Absolutely right. There's so many assumptions that go into these numbers. You know, they're extrapolated from high concentration studies done in non-humans and then extrapolated down to low levels in humans. And there's all kinds of assumptions that go into those. So, you know, it's what we have. We have to put a number on it somehow. And we can make those calculations. It's not hard math to do. It's just not super meaningful. I do think it's good to put this in context with the overall number of cancer cases in the state of California. We've done that, Clifford and I did that some time ago, and you know, when you do this math and you look at the number of cancer cases, it turns out that drinking water is responsible for less than 0.1% of all cancers. It's not a big public health concern, but it's, like you said, good to try to make it as relevant for our customers as we can.
Yeah, and I guess that's the point I'm trying to make. So
Yeah,
that it's-
the thing that I also, as a person with public health and drinking water safety background, that, I mean, the public health goal is set regardless, it's really a theoretical goal based on, you know, what we've learned from the science, regardless of whether those levels can be detected or not. And are there any public health goals that are at the detection limit or higher.
Yeah, it turns out that there are, I can't remember, it's either 8 or 13, some number that's
Out of-
around 10-ish, where the PHG is actually higher than the MCL.
Right, but that's out of how many regulated contaminants?
Roughly 120, something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So for
It's
the vast
unusual.
majority of
them
the
are
public
lower,
health goal is
yeah,
set at a level,
below the
and the
detection.
maximum contaminant level is actually set at what can feasibly be mitigated, I guess is the best word, right? If it occurs, it's like what can treat, it's not a public health rule. It's sort of the maximum contaminant level should be the lowest, it's really the lowest you can go with feasible technology,
Correct.
right? So that's how sometimes the public health goal ends up being higher than the maximum contaminant level, I would assume.
And then we have our own goals that are somewhere in between. as
Well, and
well
we've set half the maximum contaminant level as our goal, which I think is a good, goalpost, right? What might be helpful, I think, is, in the interest of education, I don't know if there's a Water Wednesday that could be done about drinking water safety, drinking water health, and then maybe something that's on our website that helps kind of give the, plain language discussion about, really, we only have 2 things that are above the public health goal out of, all of the things that are in our water. And so we're, I'm not concerned about our levels that we have. Our total THMs are of more concern than this to me. Anyway, so I would just, maybe there could be some kind of education piece that we could refer people to that's not part of the public health goal report, but that people could go to from our consumer confidence report, or could go to from other things that would help them, get more information.
Sure. You're thinking in particular about understanding the relative risks?
Well,
or how
understanding
the
what,
regs are set?
understanding what all these numbers mean, right? Because it could be scary, but it's not really.
Yeah, at the end of the day, our water is quite good. and
Yeah.
That's the bottom
safe.
line.
So,
Yeah.
By the time you eat and breathe.
Okay. Is there just an accept the report?
Yeah, I'll just put the motion out to accept the report. I did have a question so I think our most recent prior water quality report, we did have a first ever detection of PFAS in some of our local reservoirs. Is that the same annual report on public health goals? So that detection has fallen off, and that's something to be.
no, so the structure of this report is really specific in the regulation. There has to be an MCL, and there has to be a detection of it. In the case of PFAS, there isn't an MCL just yet. It's gonna be, in effect, unless something goes on with EPA, but I'm pretty sure that there is no state MCL right now, and the federal MCL is coming, but it doesn't go into effect until next, oh, I'm suddenly blanking on, I think it's 2027. So it'll be in our PHG report if we continue to get low levels of detection. It's just that we don't have a
fall
reg
into
right
this
now.
report because of the regulatory
Exactly,
system.
exactly. The same thing happened with the hexchrome 3 years ago. We had low-level detections of it, but that MCL wasn't effective at that time.
Yeah,
So both of those
similarly,
things
what
have
we
to occur.
detected was just at that, such a minimal level that it might not always be detected.
Correct.
And I thought that might be cause to celebrate, but I guess we'll wait for that, that sample to be presented to the board if we still have detections or not.
Right.
So I move to accept the report.
Can I we have to do
For close the
things
public
in-
hearing first.
Right, we need
Oh,
to.
sorry, right.
We need
And
to
we
call
have-
for public comment.
I'm sorry, I forgot this is a public hearing.
Yes.
There are members of the public that have comments.
There are no members online and no one in the audience.
Okay, then we will now close the public hearing. Do I have a motion to close the hearing?
So moved?
Second. Moved by Director Katz, seconded by Director Lewis to close the hearing. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Passes unanimously. The public hearing is now closed. We don't have to accept the next item is to accept the public health goals report. Do I have a motion for that?
So moved?
Second. Moved by Director Katz, seconded by Director Lewis. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Passes unanimously. Okay, we're now on to agenda item 15, which is to appoint an ad hoc committee to negotiate amendments to the employment contracts with the general manager and the general counsel. The board met in closed session earlier to do performance evaluations of the general manager and will reconvene following this meeting to do the same with the general counsel. We recommend that 3 board members be appointed to serve on an ad hoc committee as the board's representatives in negotiating any amendments to their employment agreements. Past practice has been for that to be the board president, the vice president, and the immediate past board president, who is no longer a member of the board, so the most immediate past president to that would be Director Katz. So can the current Vice President Gomez and past board president Katz join me confirming whether you would serve on this committee?
Yes, I'd be glad to.
I'll be happy to.
Okay, any questions or comments from board members?
You need a motion for that?
We'll get there.
Oh, okay.
Are there any speakers on this item?
None.
Okay, then we will accept a motion to accept the formation of the ad hoc committee.
I'll make that motion then.
Moved by Director Odie,
Second.
seconded by Director Smith. We'll now take a voice vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Okay, we're now moving on to agenda items 16.1 to 16.4, related to actions on the Miller Road Trench Soil Management Project.
Yes, so just a little background. The district has used the Miller Road site located near Upper San Leandro Reservoir since 1975 to temporarily store trench soils from our pipeline construction and maintenance activities. Today, we're going to present the final mitigate negative declaration for the board to consider. We did have a presentation with the planning committee, and as Director Chan noted, was supported by the planning committee. If the board approves the mitigate negative declaration, then we would move forward and submit a conditional use permit with Alameda County. We have Senior Civil Engineer Jessica Chicalo to make the presentation.
Thank you. Good afternoon, President Young, members of the board. My name is Gus Chicala, and I'm a Senior Civil Engineer in the Maintenance and Construction Department. Today, I'll be providing the board with an update on East Bay MUD's Trench Soil Management Program, focusing on the Miller Road stockpile in Castro Valley, and walking through the final mitigated negative declaration, or MND, that is being considered today. I'll begin with a brief background of the district's Trench Soil Management Program. Then I'll summarize the draft MND analysis and highlight the potential impacts we identified. I'll detail our outreach process and summarize the comments we received from the community during the public comment period. From there, I'll discuss the revisions incorporated into the final MND and the mitigation measures that will guide future off-haul operations. Finally, I'll close with next steps and the recommended actions before you today. The district generates approximately 55,000 cubic yards of excavated trench soil each year from pipeline replacement and repair projects. To manage this material, East Bay MUD maintains 3 district-owned stockpile sites, the primary and largest of which is the Briones site, which is located in Contra Costa County, north of Orinda. The second largest is the Miller Road site, north of Castro Valley in Alameda County. And the third is seldom used, it's the smallest site, and that's the Amador site in San Ramon. These stockpile sites allow us to temporarily store trench soil until it can be removed to be reused at a beneficial reuse site or disposed of at an appropriate facility. Historically, we've used the process detailed here since the 1960s. Basically, excavated trench soil from pipeline projects is placed onto trucks and hauled to one of our temporary stockpile sites. At those sites, we also maintain stockpiles of rock and sand to be used for backfill for the pipeline projects. So after dropping off the soil, the truck is loaded with rock or sand and returned to the job site for backfilling the trench. Periodically, when a site nears capacity, the stored soils are loaded into a larger haul truck and transported off-site to the end-use locations. This approach has worked well, but it requires double handling the material, creates additional truck trips, and requires ongoing management of the stockpile sites between off-haul events. So in recent years, we have begun to incorporate other soil management practices to reduce these impacts. One example of recent beneficial reuse was the Redwood Road landslide repair last year, where EBMUD transferred soil from the Miller Road stockpile directly to Alameda County to help them with repairing Redwood Road after several landslides had it closed. That project eliminated hundreds of truck trips that otherwise would have gone through Castro Valley, and it demonstrated the value of putting trench soil to immediate community use. Building on that success, we have expanded the use of direct hauling trench soil from pipeline job sites directly to beneficial reuse locations, bypassing the temporary stockpile sites altogether. This reduces the need for double handling, cuts down on emissions and truck traffic, and minimizes community impacts. I do need to note, however, that while we're working to make direct haul our primary management strategy, the stockpile sites still serve an important role. For emergency repairs, for periods when reuse sites can't accept soil, such as during inclement weather or off hours, we still need the temporary sites to be in operation. The primary direct haul site has been the Dumbarton Quarry in Fremont, which you can see pictured on the slide here. Since 2024, we have direct hauled more than 17,000 cubic yards of soil there. The quarry is being reclaimed for future parkland by East Bay Regional Park District, so the soil is going to be put to a beneficial long-term use. Going forward, we're continuing to develop a geographically diverse list of reuse partners so we can have options available close to various pipeline projects. For example, in July, the board authorized an agreement with Pleasanton Lakes in Pleasanton, and direct haul to that site is expected to begin within the next few weeks, so we're looking forward to expanding our catalog of reuse sites. We also continue to explore native soil reuse, which we've piloted before. It offers some challenges, but it does show promise, so we're committed to pursuing it where practical and expanding the use of native soil in the trench. So now turning specifically to the Miller Road site. This stockpile site has been in operation since 1975, as mentioned. As shown in the location map on the left, it is located north of Castro Valley and is accessed via Redwood Road from Interstate 580. Miller Road is a private district road where the stockpile site is. Trucks delivering trench soil deliver at the north end of the site. So on the figure on the right, is the top side is an aerial of the trench soil stockpile site. They unload their soil there and then typically stop at the rock and sand pile, the bottom image on the right-hand side there. There, they pick up the material that's used for backfilling the trench when they return to the project site. Vendor trucks also access the site to deliver the rock and sand material. When the site nears capacity, an off-haul is performed. In 2019, we conducted a large-scale off-haul event, removing more than 100,000 cubic yards from Miller Road. That event gave us valuable lessons on how to better manage truck operations and community impacts. Off-haul events are the most significant activity that's seen at the stockpile sites in terms of potential community impact. They could involve hundreds of truck trips per day, often lasting several weeks. The large off-hauls we carried out at Briones and Miller Road in 2018 and 2019 respectively were the first of that scale in many years, and they were, as I mentioned, important learning lessons for the district. They didn't go as smoothly as we wanted them to, and we made a lot of improvements since then. We've refined our approach with more oversight, reduced work hours, and improved coordination with the community. So for example, we had off-hauls from Briones in 2022 and 2024, and those projects went much more smoothly with fewer community impacts and improved trucking operations. In 2023, we had planned another off-haul from the Miller Road site, but Alameda County informed us that continued operation of the site would require a conditional use permit, or a CUP, since the property is zoned for agricultural use. Obtaining a CUP requires environmental review under CEQA, which led us to prepare the M&D, which led us to this presentation today. Since March of last year, we've been working with Panorama Environmental to conduct the initial study, which led to the development of the draft M&D, based on the ability to mitigate any potential environmental impacts to a less than significant level. The M&D analyzed any potential impacts from continued operation of the site. The M&D also modeled an increase in use of the site as we ramp up our pipeline replacements from about 25 miles per year now to about 30 miles per year in 2030. But I want to point out that although it modeled an increase in the use of the sites due to the increased pipeline replacements, we're actually expecting a substantial decrease as we expand direct haul and our other trench soil management practices. So the initial study evaluated all the standard CEQA environmental categories, including land use, air quality, water quality, noise, biological resources, traffic, et cetera. Of these categories, nearly all of them were determined to have less than a significant impact with the implementation of our refined standard operating procedures. Practices. Only 2 areas require specific mitigation: transportation safety during off-haul trucking and coordination related to emergency response in response to a wildfire. The M&D with the Mitigation Monitoring and Reporting Plan, the MMRP, which details these findings, has been published on the district's website for public review and will be summarized in a few slides here. We conducted extensive public outreach for this project. We went to the Planning Committee in March of 2025 and then also presented to the Castro Valley Municipal Advisory Council, the Castro Valley MAC, and hosted a virtual public meeting. To advertise the MND and these meetings, we mailed postcards to approximately 1,500 residents near the project site and along the haul route. We also sent more than 12,000 email notices to Castro Valley residents who subscribed to the EBMUD updates. Project information was shared on the Nextdoor website with over 13,000 users in the Castro Valley neighborhoods, and updates were posted to the district's website. Through these efforts, we provided multiple opportunities for the community to learn about the project, ask questions, and provide comments. The district received written comments from the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, from Alameda County, the Castro Valley MAC, and several individuals. Key topics are shown on this slide, and they include soil management and reuse, potential water quality impacts, traffic and public safety, and effects on wildlife and habitat. Other concerns included air quality and dust control, land use compliance, and the adequacy of the CEQA review process overall. The comment letters in their entirety, responses to the comments, and associated revisions to the MND are all included in the final MND. So now I'll review some of the revisions we made to the final MND in response to those comments. The MND was updated to add more detail on the alternative soil management strategies we're now using to reduce reliance on the stockpiles, such as direct haul. We clarified the refined standard practices that are followed during off-haul events to strengthen safety and oversight during the off-hauls. We expanded the discussion of existing measures that protect biological resources and habitat around the site. The revisions in the final M&D also emphasize proactive coordination with Alameda County and nearby schools to prior to any off-haul event, and include enhanced mitigation measures to ensure safety and minimize disruption to the surrounding community. As mentioned, in addition to the specific mitigation measures that I'll review shortly that were identified in the M&D, we have already incorporated lessons learned from the past off-haul events into our standard operating practices. For example, we scheduled trucking hours to start after the morning commute and to end before the afternoon commute. We have limited the maximum number of trucks per day during the off-haul. We more strictly enforce our dust and stormwater control measures, which include covering loads, using water trucks, and conducting street sweeping as needed and at least weekly. We've updated stormwater pollution prevention plans for each stockpile site and strictly adhere to those requirements. The photos at the right just show some examples from the latest off-haul from Briones of our inspector reports and reminder signs and the street sweeping taking place. So these are things that we've already incorporated into our overall trench soil management program. Specific to the Miller Road project and the MND, we identified several measures in the MMRP to further protect public safety during off-haul operations. So we'll highlight these, and yeah, they're in the MMRP, so we can ensure that they are carried out and tracked during the off-haul events. All truck drivers will be required to review and sign safety requirements that cover defensive driving, school zones, blind spots, and consequences for noncompliance. Trucks will be prohibited from parking or queuing on Redwood Road, and temporary traffic controls will be installed during wide turns at the intersection of Redwood Road and Miller Road. Radar speed feedback signs and advanced warning signs will be placed along Redwood Road to deter speeding and alert motorists to truck traffic. Frequent safety inspections will be conducted on brakes, tires, lights, etc. Additionally, we'll provide public information on truck traffic and safety measures, coordinating closely with Alameda County, emergency services, local schools, and will fund additional crossing guards near the schools if needed. In coordination with the county, we will also conduct pre- and post-event roadway surveys to document conditions and repair any damage caused by the project. District inspectors will be present on site and along haul routes during off-haul events to monitor safety and ensure compliance. This slide shows the key milestones for the CEQA review. The draft MND was released on March 20th and made available for a 60-day public comment period, which closed on May 19th. Since that time, over the summer, we've been preparing responses to the comments and finalizing the MND, and the final MND was released on August 28th and is available on our website, which is ebmud.com/Miller Road. So today, we are asking the board to consider adoption of the final MND. If approved, the next step would be to apply for a conditional use permit with Alameda County. So staff recommends that the board adopt the final mitigated negative declaration for the Miller Road Trench Soil Management Project, make the necessary findings in accordance with CEQA, and adopt the mitigation monitoring and reporting plan, and approve the project so that the district can move forward with the CUP application. And that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the board? Any public comments?
I have a question. I just wanted to clarify what exactly you're asking for today.
To approve the mitigated negative declaration.
I understand that, but there's more than that. Because actually 16.4 says approve the project. So when you say approve the project, is that more than approving the MND? And is it more than applying for the permit?
It's approving it doesn't mean the project will go forward because there are still additional permits that need to be obtained, but it's approving it in the sense of CEQA that you're adopting the CEQA document and making the findings, and that the project as presented in the CEQA documentation is an approved project.
Okay, so it's basically just approving the next steps, right?
Well,
Because when you say approving the project, I kind of think of going forward with the project no matter what.
So my understanding is the project, as we're defining it, it includes the continued operation of that site as a soils facility. So that would be the project being approved today.
Continued operation as a soil,
Yes, so include so the project, as stated in the VD1 includes the continued operation of the district-owned Miller Road Trench Soil Stockpile Site in Alameda County, including import, temporary storage, and periodic removal of trench soil and backfill materials. So today, the board is being asked to adopt the mitigated negative declaration, make the findings, adopt the mitigation monitoring and reporting plan, and then approve the continued use of that site as the district has historically.
Pending issuance by the county of the conditional use.
Yes, so that the
should-
board's approval is a prerequisite for us taking the next steps of going to the county and applying for
okay.
conditional
And
use.
okay, so I understand. I just feel like it's not clear under the recommended actions because approving the project to me means that that we approve the project no matter what the conditions that Alameda County states are necessary.
Karen, do you want to add some clarification?
We don't know what those conditions are at this point.
No, that is correct. We don't know what those conditions are. What the project is, as Derek has explained, is the continued operation of this site. Now, Gus highlighted in his presentation that the county has now said that we should apply for a conditional use permit in order to continue using the site. The project includes applying for the conditional use permit and then complying with the conditions that the county includes in that conditional use permit.
Well, I think that makes sense, but all I'm saying is that approve the project. I think that could be misinterpreted.
Would you like to make the motion so
No, I
that
would not.
it's
Thank
clear?
you very much.
Okay.
Could I ask a clarifying question then of Derek, Madam President?
Yeah.
Is the approval of the M&D inclusive of the continuation of the current use, or do we need to make two separate motions to adopt and submit the final M&D and then also to approve the continuation of the project pending while this, while the CUP is pending with the county.
And I may be able to provide some of that. So the actions are listed because there are multiple actions here. Adopting the mitigated negative declaration is a
Includes-
step that you as the board take pursuant to CEQA. And that is a mitigated negative declaration that examines the impacts of the project and this is unique. It's different from some of the treatment plants that were discussed earlier and other things, because this is an ongoing project. We've been operating this site since the 1970s. And what we desire to do is to continue operating this site. So we've
You
prepared a
only need
negative
us-
declaration on that.
You
So
only need us to approve the M&D, but by doing so, and I think that's what Director Chan is asking, is by implication, we are seeking to continue.
well, we are seeking to continue
Assuming
that.
we get the proper
Yeah.
authorization.
Can I try to thread the needle here? That we are voting to, the motion would be to approve the continuation of using the Miller Road site for the purposes described in the presentation by Gus, as including approving the mitigated negative declaration to substantially mitigate any impacts and to move forward with application of the conditional use permit from Alameda County so that we may continue using the Miller Road trench soil site.
I mean,
that
I
captures it.
guess.
I'm making that motion.
Second,
Okay, actually, that's great. But the whole thing is that we don't know what the conditions are gonna be that Alameda County puts forward so is that something that we really wanna work on now? Is this something we wanna approve now, or do we wanna wait and see what the conditions are
I think we
first?
legally have to approve the mitigated negative declaration in order to be able to stand for the conditional use permit from the county, is my
Okay,
understanding.
but the whole thing is that the MND does not guarantee approval of the project. Those are two different things. So as I try to understand this, Karen, I really do. There's 4 recommended actions that you're asking for. So like, I understand number 1. But the make findings in accordance with CEQA, I don't know if that's the same thing as number 1 or if that's different. Adopt the mitigation monitoring and reporting plan in accordance with CEQA. I mean, actually, I've tried to stay on top of this project. I don't know what those 2 things are.
And I can walk through each one of these, and I'll end with the conditional use permit, because the granting of the conditional use permit is an action that the county will take, and they will be
Right.
acting as responsible agency using the mitigated negative declaration that East Bay MUD has prepared. It is true that we cannot at this point know what the outcome of that will be or what the conditions are, but this is a use that is permitted in the county subject to a conditional use permit. And so we are trying to get this site authorized. But to go through the actions one by one, we prepared the initial study and mitigated negative declaration, and we're asking that the board adopt that because that is an action under CEQA. In order to ensure that the project is mitigated includes all measures necessary to mitigate the project to a level that is less than significant, the board is also adopting the MMRP. These are the conditions that we are incorporating into the project to ensure that the impacts are mitigated to a level that is less than significant. And to go to the findings, those are the findings that you are adopting under CEQA, making the necessary findings that all impacts have been mitigated to a level that is less than significant.
So what you're saying is that those are all wrapped in the MND?
These are all wrapped into the action that you are taking pursuant to
That's
CEQA to meet the requirements of
Approving the
CEQA.
MND?
Yes.
Okay. All right, because I just want to make it clear. to people here that, you know, as you said, the county approves this, but the county will be putting conditions, I'm sure. So I personally am not going to support approving the project unless I know exactly what the conditions are that the county is going to demand. That's one thing. The second thing is that I still have concerns about the MND and some of those concerns stated in the Castro Valley MAC meetings regarding traffic and environmental issues. So, yeah, I will leave it there.
Director Odie.
A question based on that. So if the CUP is approved as applied, then the project is approved and we don't talk about it again, right?
That's correct.
Now,
There would be
what-
nothing further for us to
So
approve.
then on the opposite side, if the county says, all right, we got your application, blah, 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 we want to add, ABC conditions, would that come back to us?
I don't know that, I mean, if there are conditions and staff, we would definitely be having a dialogue with the county over conditions. But if the conditions are conditions that staff can work with, then we would not need to come back to the board. If other things happen, then we would probably come back to the board with other.
Isn't that kind of your concern? That
Well,
things would be added without us?
I sat through, can I just say?
I'm asking, yeah.
I sat
I'm
through three
curious to
Castro
hear your
Valley.
opinion.
I sat through 3 Castro Valley MAC meetings on this topic. I think that some of the conditions are probably not going to go over well here. So I would expect, I anticipate that there is going to be a lot of debate about this is not something that's going to go through smoothly. I said in the morning meeting, I do feel like it's an uphill battle for us. So I think that I basically would anticipate that there's going to have to be ongoing discussion between the staff and the county
I guess
about conditions.
That's perfectly consistent with the motion that I made and that I would expect. And if we don't act today, nothing's going to happen.
Well, I already
So-
seconded, so you
And
have.
and Director Lewis seconded it, so.
Well, I'm not
in terms of the
arguing-
Debate on the point.
Well, he asked a clarifying question.
Well, my concern is we have the director whose ward this project is in raising a concern, and I didn't hear that her concern was alleviated.
So I think everyone, just needs to vote however they feel appropriate.
Well, so let me ask you this, Director Chan, since you have been in 3 Castro Valley MAC meetings and have heard the comments of all of those concerned residents, are there specific actions that you would like to see incorporated into the mitigated negative declaration or the mitigation monitoring and reporting plan to address those impacts that are deemed, to get them to be less than significant with mitigation? Do you have specific actions that should be included to improve the environmental compliance with this project?
And I'll answer that question as I talk to David and Crystal about this. Something that's really very important to the unincorporated area is the Alameda County Soil Importation Ordinance of 2019. And I've talked to staff about this. They know that. And one of the things that, we have operated this site since the 1970s. No one's going to argue that that's not true. But the thing is, everything changed with that ordinance for soil importation. So I know it was expressed at the MAC by a lot of people that this ordinance is very important to us, that we had worked on it for a very long time. It took a long time. It was pushed very hard. People really care about that ordinance. So one thing that I think East Bay MUD should take a look at is that ordinance.
Is any soil coming from outside of Alameda County?
That's not the point.
No, but, well,
I have Director Katz and Director Lewis.
To the, on the I had some other questions about the CEQA first, but just since Director Chan raised this, yeah, I do agree that we need to be very mindful of the status of the Alameda County soil export ordinance. You know, I had the same initial impression that it regulated in-county versus out-county exports, but, you know, my understanding is that it may have more to do with the character of agricultural use or not. And you know, I think we need more information about what the purpose of the ordinance is, whether it may have unintentionally included more types of uses than is needed to protect the communities in unincorporated Alameda County from unanticipated local and environmental impacts. And you know, and I think it would be best to work with the county's leadership to avoid you know, the need to put pressure on the county that, you know, we are asserting a grandfathered use or that we're, you know, require a variance. You know, I think we should explore whether we can have a compatible type of amendment to the ordinance so that the community is able to accept our proposal, assuming that we approve it, to move forward with it. You know, so those are some suggestions, you know, that I would defer to Director Chan about some of the details for how we engage the community and the county. But those are my thoughts about some of the challenges of engaging in an ordinance that passed relatively recently, but well after we began use of this site for the same type of use that we want to continue using it for. So that's just a comment to address what just happened before I was recognized. The question I've been waiting to ask was specific to the CEQA process. It's unusual that, well, maybe it's not so unusual. So we're asked to approve this mitigated negative declaration as the lead agency, but we're not the permitting agency. So is our decision, is the agency's discretionary decision to propose the project the discretionary decision that makes us the lead agency under CEQA?
And just to be clear, we did work with the county on making this determination and on the project description. We determined that we were the appropriate lead agency because we are a public agency. As you know, typically in a permitting situation, it's a private entity that is not a public agency subject to CEQA seeking a permit approval. Here, because we are the owners of the site and are the public agency engaged in the ongoing use of the site, we determined under the CEQA guidelines that we're the appropriate lead agency for preparing this document. And we've addressed that in the MND. There were questions, comments that came in about whether or not EBMUD is the appropriate lead agency. And in our response to the comments, we have addressed that in detail. But we did determine under the CEQA guidelines that we are the appropriate lead agency here.
Okay, yeah, it sounds like it's consistent with CEQA practice under the guidelines.
Yes.
I'm assuming that it's because we're making a decision to even apply, and that discretion, you know, should mean that we have an EIR or have a CEQA document that's adequate for the act at the time of, you know, we're the first public agency to take any action about the project.
And that was another factor that went into that determination. That's correct, yes.
So it makes sense that we would do this. I am interested in so let's say that in the Alameda County permitting process that the county imposes additional conditions that would further address or mitigate potential significant environmental impacts that go beyond what we will certify as adequate. Does that require revisiting the EIR, or do we simply incorporate and comply with them in the conditional use permit?
I believe we would anticipate that anything additional that the county, additional measures to be incorporated in the project that the county determines are necessary for public health and safety, that would not require additional CEQA. It would, unless it creates a significant impact that hasn't already been addressed or exacerbates an impact to a level that is more significant than what has been addressed in the MND, I do not believe that there will be additional CEQA needed. Now recognize we're speaking in the hypothetical here, so we'll have to see how this plays out. But
Would we wait for the MND to be final before we submit the conditional use permit application, or is that necessary to allow that to lapse?
Well, on the agenda today is to adopt the MND. So at that point, the MND will be an adopted CEQA document, and then we will file a notice of determination within the next couple of days, and that will complete the CEQA process by us as a lead agency.
Okay, yeah, thanks for the refresher on the procedure. Okay, and so the portion of our recommended actions, the 16.4, that was originally stated to approve the project, I think President Young might have incorporated some of the implied actions. I forget the exact term. Is there any further? Do you have any further comment about how the board is casting its authorization to submit the application, I think?
No, I don't believe so, although we may need some clarity as to exactly what the motion is, but I think the motion was tracking the steps, which we typically list in order.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I think I had my hand up now.
Director Lewis?
Yeah, so I just wanted to, I think, recap what you said and what Oliver said. My understanding is, with regard to the ordinance, that our application, which is a CEQA application, takes all of our understanding of the requirements into account. And we have made a proposal and incorporated changes that should meet those concerns. Should the county determine that they want additional requirements in order to grant a CUP or not, they will discuss that with staff. We will either incorporate those changes, or if they are such that they're unable to do so, that will have to come back to the board because we won't have a CUP to continue. But by and large, with regard to the project, it doesn't even make sense for us to submit the MND, except to the extent that we want to continue to operate at that location. Is that correct? Is that correct? Don't convolute it more, just tell me.
Okay, let's see.
Is that
We need
correct?
the CEQA to support our conditional
Right.
use permit application. So the MND does the CEQA analysis to see if there's environmental impacts or if it's in conflict with anything in place. So we've done that analysis, and we found that there are no significant impacts as long as it's mitigated. So it's
And
going
the
to support the
county's
CUP.
oversight of the CUP process should pick up the community concerns
Yeah, so the next step,
for us to address.
and just to confuse it more, no. This is like a very conservative document, like saying, okay, if it's a big project with no further conditions on it, we still have found the impacts to be less than significant with mitigation. I expect, like when we do meet with the county, there may be more conditions put on the project. Those weren't considered as part of the environmental document. That was to see if there's environmental impacts. So when we go to the agency, to the county, there may be more conditions. And if they're reasonable conditions, we'll go ahead and agree to them, just like when we approve.
But the project is the continuation of the operations that we've been doing there, which is the driver for us going through this process and why you need us to approve the MND. To the extent that there are any additional concerns by the county, they have control of that process through the CUP process. Is
Yes,
that
and also,
correct?
yes, that's correct. And also during the CUP process, there's a public hearing in front of the Western Zoning Board. So the public will also have input into the project yet again. So beyond the CEQA input, they'll have CUP
Okay.
input.
After that.
Thank you.
If the BZA, no matter how it rules, I'm sure that there will be an appeal from either side. And then, so I would expect this would have to go before the Board of Supervisors.
But is there anything to Director Odie's question and point that is being requested of this board in order to ensure that we've done all things that we think are reasonable to work with the folks in the community in your district with regard to this issue. Is there anything else you're asking?
Which goes back to my question, which is, are there specific things that you have either asked for which have not been incorporated, or that you would like to ask for now that need to be incorporated into the mitigated negative, the MND, I now know why they call it an MND, in order to take care of the concerns that have been duly expressed by the residents of Castro Valley?
And I brought up the major one, which is the ordinance that we all care about, which is the.
So
We
what
have to
are,
comply with
so
that.
what are the
No.
specific things that need to be incorporated into the mitigation monitoring and reporting plan in order to do that in your eyes, that would best
It has to
serve
be
that?
addressed, it has to be read, understood, and addressed. And it's not even referenced. I mean, at least I didn't see it referenced.
Okay, so do you want to propose that our
Madam President.
project,
Maybe if we could address, because this question came up during the planning committee, about the soil import. I mean, the CUP is to address.
Yeah, the CUP itself, so the MND does reference that upon approval, the next step in the process is to go after the CUP, and being in accordance with the ordinances and whatever other requirements the Alameda County puts on us as an integral part of the CUP process. So it doesn't mention it specifically, but it doesn't mention many of the steps
have to
specifically.
comply
It's an
in
integral
order to
part
do
of the CUP is complying with the ordinance and working with staff, and we'll go out to the public outreach. That's not mentioned either, so.
If this is a public document, which it is, I would have recommended that you reference it. And then also put it into the CUP, because as I say, people will look for that. There were a lot of things, President Young, that were addressed in the MAC meetings. As a matter of fact, there is a resolution against this project, which states, I think, some of the grievances. So you're asking a question like it's a simple question. It's actually a complicated, long answer,
no, I just
which
asking
which I
whether
won't
you
go
could
in,
put forward
which I won't
specific-
go into.
Okay.
But but I did say broadly environmental and traffic issues. Thank you.
So, and I just want to reiterate, the soils ordinance is part of the zoning ordinance, as is this conditional use permit application process. So we are following the county's process for obtaining a conditional use permit. And, I'm sure there will be discussion over the ordinance during the county's running of the process with a lot of public input. The document that's been produced today, the MND, follows the requirements of CEQA. And so it's the environmental analysis of potential impacts and mitigations that we are presenting to the county for consideration in conjunction with the CUP.
We are simply voting on whether to continue the process of continuing this project. And today's step is the mitigated negative declaration and the monitoring and reporting plan associated with that in order to apply for the conditional use permit, to allow the citizens of Alameda County and their duly elected officials and staff to review the mitigated negative declaration, to review the project, to incorporate public comment, and to determine how and whether to approve the project and under what conditions. That's all.
Call the question.
That's the public process. So I'm going to call for a vote. Let's do a voice vote.
Roll call.
Yeah, fine. Roll call vote.
Director Chan?
No.
Director Gomez?
Yes.
Director Katz?
Yes.
Director Lewis?
Yes?
Director Odie?
Yes.
Director Smith?
Aye.
President Young?
Yes. Okay, motion passes 6-1.
Thank you for that. The last, go ahead.
Can we get a follow-up on the next steps so that we can know where we stand with this?
We can give you an update. I mean, if you'd like, we can give you an update, when we file the conditional use permit and as of maybe the next step. And then if anything comes up within that process, we can provide an update as well.
Can I say what might be practical for that is for an update after the BZA meeting, because that's the next public meeting, if it doesn't go back to the Castro Valley MAC first. So it could go back to the Castro Valley MAC again, but I just don't see that. But then it'll go to the BZA, and then at the BZA meeting, we'll get a clearer idea of public reaction.
Who grants the permit? Board of Supervisors
Yes.
or the county staff? Who grants the permit? I'm asking staff.
Karen?
So the Board of Zoning will vote on the permit.
Except there is that appeal process to the Board of Supervisors.
So I look forward to an update. I look forward to any further understanding or details so that we as a board can help address any concerns of the constituents in that district, including helping Director Chan educate her constituents and for us to work with her and them. I look forward to an update.
Okay.
Thank you.
Our next presentation is just to talk about hydrant locking caps. We have Dave Briggs here, our Director of Operations Maintenance. We recently received a number of comments about the use of these locking caps, and I thought it'd be a good idea to provide the board some background on that.
Thank you, Clifford. Good afternoon, President Young. Good afternoon, members of the board. Risha, do I have control of the, thank you. Okay, so let's talk about what a hydrant, a locking cap is, and then where they are and why they're there. So in the slide we're showing here on the right is shown a hydrant cap along with a wrench affixed to it to remove or install the cap. This happens to be showing the cap on the 2.5-inch outlet of a district standard hydrant. 90 degrees rotated is the other outlet, the 4.5-inch outlet. Typically, when these are installed out in the field, both caps are on. So why are they installed? There are several reasons. They're installed to prevent water theft, unauthorized use. There's potential for water quality contamination of the potable water system. I'm going to show you some photographs on the next slide, so this will all be a little bit easier to understand. Also, we don't want unauthorized use of the hydrants with unauthorized or inappropriate tools. The nuts that are used to move the valve or to remove the cap to operate the hydrant can be stripped if the inappropriate wrench is used, and that just delays firefighting. Firefighters generally do not want to see anything attached to the hydrant that could delay them in their response. So when they come across a hydrant, which here I'll just go ahead and show you the kinds of things that can be installed that can encumber the hydrant. It's not uncommon to see various things, hoses of various types attached to hydrants. A myriad of photographs here showing the unauthorized use. So on the water quality side, when we do have hoses attached to a hydrant, we don't know what is attached on the other side or where the hose is going. If the water system depressurizes, which can happen if there's a main break, we can get reverse flow through the hose. So if the hose is lying in a gutter or in a place where there's drainage, or you can see in the lower left photograph, one of the hoses is going into a catch basin. Some are going behind fences and we don't know where it's going from there. They're also in the public right-of-way. They're tripping hazards. So these are all reasons why we don't want attachments to the hydrants. On the right side are the three rightmost photographs show unauthorized use by contractors. So we have 31,000 hydrants. We can't keep an eye on all of them at the same time, obviously. So we do have contractors from time to time brazenly steal water out of hydrants, and so we have means and measures for addressing that, but that's another reason why the hydrant caps get installed. I do want to mention that these caps are nothing new. They've been installed on hydrants, especially in Oakland, since the 1990s. This map here on this slide on the right shows where the hydrant caps, the locking caps are installed. They're predominantly in Oakland, that's shown in orange. There were a few others outside of Oakland. We have field verified those. The ones in Contra Costa County were field verified and removed. There was only one we found in Richmond. We didn't even find any elsewhere in Contra Costa County. But most of them, as you can see from this map, are in Oakland. They're not in the wildland urban interface zone in the hills. We have installed these caps in conjunction with Oakland Fire Department over the years, beginning in the 90s, as I mentioned. They have wrenches on their trucks. We also supply wrenches to neighboring fire agencies, so if they do have to respond in a mutual aid situation, they are prepared. The wrenches are available from a vendor if we don't supply them. And as I mentioned, they have been removed from Contra Costa County and following a flurry of requests and emails that came up a couple of weeks ago.
You mean the one that was there in Richmond?
Yeah, sorry, yeah, we only found one. I'm sorry?
It's like there's one in Lafayette.
That one, yeah, so this slide, the one that is in Lafayette, when we field verified it, it turned out that it did not have caps on it, so that little dot there in Lafayette's incorrect. Question?
Yes.
Yes.
Marguerite?
Yeah, go, I'm sorry.
Have you received
can't
any?
see if you can.
Yeah, I know. Any complaints from Oakland with regard to these? No
No.
complaints, they don't have any.
I'll get to that in a
Why-
second.
And what were the nature of the complaints that which resulted in the caps being removed in Contra Costa County?
So to the best of my knowledge, I think the complaint that you're referring to that kind of spun up a couple weeks ago, it started, I think, out of Richmond or El Cerrito. I think there was the impression that there were a lot more of these in Contra Costa County than there actually were. I think it was a misunderstanding.
Regardless of the number, what was the nature of the complaint?
They felt like they didn't have the wrenches to access the hydrant in an emergency. That was the complaint.
And did you confirm whether that was the case or not?
We've confirmed that there's no, so where the complaints were coming from, which were predominantly Contra Costa County, El Cerrito, Richmond, and then Contra Costa County Fire, which covers a lot of the rest of Contra Costa County, there were no hydrants there with locking caps on them, so that went away. The mutual aid response, El Cerrito being adjacent to Oakland or nearby, we ensured that they had the wrenches on their rigs in case they had to respond to Oakland for mutual aid.
So do we have some kind of formal process or something in place to confirm that all of the areas and locations where we have these locking caps have the removal tools and are aware of them?
Yeah, so yes is the answer. They're predominant, as you can see, they are literally almost, I mean, I don't know of one that is outside of Oakland. And Oakland Fire Department is fully aware. We've been talking to them over the past few weeks to make sure we're on the same page. They have the wrenches, they are comfortable. And then just 2 hours ago, we just got a request from the city of Oakland to install one to help them manage an unhoused community that they're managing.
So my other question then, they're just good for Oakland or are they good?
Why does Oakland have a preponderance of them, I think is what Director Lewis is asking.
That is a good question. I think it stemmed from, in the mid-90s after the Oakland Hills fire, we started talking with Oakland Fire Department much more frequently. The requests come from a variety of angles. When we do have unauthorized access to a hydrant, especially repeatedly, like we're out there every day, sometimes the fire department has to respond to somebody opening up a hydrant. Sometimes the city will respond, we will respond. When we go out there repeatedly and over again, that's when Oakland Fire and the city of Oakland and East Bay MUD all work together to say, like, let's put a hydrant cap on this so we don't have to keep visiting this site, and let's put the wrench on the rig, on the fire department rig, so they can access it in an emergency.
So hydrants are typically locked based on the history of malfeasance or
Correct.
maluse. And to the extent that hydrants are locked, we formally have something here at East Bay MUD in place to ensure that that fire district and those around it who would provide mutual aid are aware and have the tools necessary
to unlock those hydrants?
Yes. So, why don't I just skip to this and address some of that a little bit more definitively? So, one of the ways that we ensure this coordination happens, there's one of many, is that annually we host the Fire Agency Forum. That is a very formalized meeting. It's held in the room right next door over here. High-level staff from the fire department attend, so we're talking command staff, chief, deputy chief, assistant chief, come to this meeting. 15 or 16 of the fire districts that work in our service area, they're all in attendance. We take attendance, we take notes, and we routinely talk about issues all across the board. But we have, as recently as 2023, talked about the hydrant locking caps, what they are, what they look like, the tools you need to get access to the hydrant. So this is very frequently done. Again, I already explained the accessibility of the wrenches. And then this has been a very special year, obviously. Since the wildfires in Southern California, we've had over 17 meetings with various fire districts. We're part of the East Bay Wildfire Coalition, and I think maybe I'll just jump to the end here. There are other meetings that we plan to attend. The fire chiefs of Alameda County and Contra Costa County convene their own meetings that they control the agenda, and they have it roughly a monthly frequency, I believe. We are likely going to start attending those meetings as well moving forward to make sure there's no unanswered questions with respect to the locking caps or anything else. The other, I think, thing to mention is that statewide, there's no standard for a hydrant locking cap. We have our own design. Other communities within the state of California don't necessarily have the same one. So if there's a broader mutual aid emergency statewide, we would want to, I mean, that would make sense to have everybody on the same geometry and the same cap. So that is an area that we're going to explore, probably through the regulatory process, fire code, not through a legislative process.
And Dave, just to clarify, I mean, we use a design. We didn't design this. We buy these.
Yeah, we don't fabricate the caps. They're purchased.
Who does this go to? Read it and pass it on.
And that's all I have for you. If there's any other questions.
Thank you.
Okay, and the monthly report is attached to your packet, and at your places is the Speakers Bureau, and that's the end of my reports.
Okay, other items for future consideration. I will note here that due to the longer than anticipated meeting duration, that we will not be convening following this meeting for our reconvening for our closed session, and we'll take up the take up the matter that was designated then at our next closed session meeting, and the appointment of the ad hoc committee still stands. We'll move on to director comments. I think we started with Director Smith at the last meeting, so we'll start with Director Katz.
Yes, so I was proud to be a part of representing the district at the Oakland Pride Celebration. Thank you to my colleagues, President Young and Joey Smith, who was DJing on the top of the truck that was traveling us through Broadway. And we were also glad to be there, really just supporting our Reigning Pride affinity group. So thanks to the many employees who showed up to show up for the district. Other matters to report. I will be also attending the Solano Stroll this weekend. And that's it.
Okay. Next.
I have nothing to report.
Okay.
I attended the Castro Valley Fall Fest, which is a two-day festival. Nothing to report except that I asked the staff, basically, what are people talking about? What are people asking? And they said that people are asking for jobs now. They're asking for information about how to apply at East Bay MUD. So that's different than in the past, so notable. Thank you. Okay.
I also, as Director Katz mentioned, attended Oakland Pride, which I would say in all my years of attending since I joined the board was the largest turnout of, I mean, it was the biggest parade that I can remember. I want to especially do a shout out to Kate Comer, who anchored things for the Reigning Pride Committee, and want to again encourage more of our employees, friends, and family of East Bay Mud to show up. It's a fun event. It's a great community event for Oakland. I think one of the only parades, we have a few parades in Oakland, but not too many. Three, maybe, the Cowboy Parade and, anyway. It's one of the, it's becoming a signature Oakland event. I'm glad we participate. And that's all I got.
Thank you. So on August 28th, I had the privilege of visiting a pipeline construction project. It was a field visit that was really inspiring. It was in Orinda, in the hills. And hard hat and vest in hand, the operation was absolutely impressive. I'm so grateful to our pipeline construction crews. The professionalism and creativity I witnessed was awesome. Creativity because in the field, oftentimes the plans do not match what's underground, and folks need to literally reroute the pipe on the fly and make it work. It was really, truly impressive. Not only did I leave with a much greater appreciation for the work that we do and our talented team, but I also left with a souvenir. And those of you who do the work, it's called a cookie. This is a little hole that's drilled in the pipe in order to put disinfection in, and it's like a little piece of pipe. And I'm the proud owner of a cookie now. So I just wanted to really thank everybody that helped to make it possible. I want to highly recommend to my fellow board members that this is an awesome thing to do, and just kudos to our team. Just so proud of the work that we do to keep our water flowing day in and day out. So thank you all.
Can I grab back a second? Because she won't say it for herself, but I do want to report that Director Lewis was inducted into the National Bar Association Hall of Fame. And the induction was held in August in Chicago on the occasion of the 100th anniversary of the American Bar Association. National Bar Association, sorry. So congratulations, Dr. Lewis.
I will note on my own behalf, though, it was kind of bittersweet. My husband was inducted along with John Burris at the same time, at the National Bar Association Hall of Fame in 2019. So it would have been lovely for him to be there, but now I got a girl.
All right. Okay,
My
go,
turn.
Jim. Yep.
I was out of town for most of the 2 weeks, so I have nothing to report, but next time I have a whole list of things.
Pizza, hot dogs, and got a tummy ache.
Pizza, hot dogs, White Castles, yeah. Italian beef, all the Chicago favorites.
Square cut pizza.
Yeah. I'm a little bit in pain.
You gotta pace yourself, man. So, August 27th, I really had a good time at the annual Hidden Heroes of the Greenbelt Awards. This year it was at Preservation Park in Oakland. And I have a couple people in mind that I want to nominate. So I'll probably be trying to get some interviews from a few of y'all so we can work something out. It was very well attended, and the food from the food trucks, they made it possible for just about anybody to enjoy what they were serving. So if you had food restrictions or not, they worked it out. That was cool. I also bought a shirt. They have a design called We're Better Together, and it's a house with humans and animals and fauna and Flora on the shirt. You'll probably see me in it. It's the second one I've ever gotten. All right, on August 31st, I showed up for the Bay Area Girls Club Men Who Cook Foundation. It was at the Galileo Club. I believe this was their third or fourth one that they did. This is in Richmond. And I made a few donations for the fundraiser, so I represented East Bay Mud very well with that. And on Sunday, yep, Oakland Pride, I helped out at the booth for a little bit because there were some questions that were being asked, and a few folk had mixed feelings about East Bay Mud because of recent incidents that they had encountered, but they had good things to say about who they spoke about those concerns. And they left smiling and with great swag because I listened to them, I wrote it down, and I followed up. So hopefully that will be addressed. And just a lot of really joyous people there. So I really appreciate being a part of that.
Okay, I think that's it. That's a wrap. Our next meeting is Tuesday, September 23rd. Regular meeting is Tuesday, September 23rd at 1:15. Meeting is adjourned.